So, in 1954, the good old US military, in cahoots with Monarch, a secret organization that clearly missed its calling as a PR firm, decides to deal with the Godzilla problem by luring him to Bikini Atoll and throwing a nuclear bomb party. It's like trying to invite a neighbor over for dinner and then setting your house on fire to get rid of that pesky ant infestation. You have to admire their creativity. Fast forward to 1999, and we meet Dr. Ishiro Serizawa and his trusty sidekick, Dr. Vivian Graham. They're off to the Philippines on what sounds like a routine geology field trip until they stumble upon a colossal fossilized skeleton and 2 spores. It's like a surprise gift from Mother Nature, only the gift is a giant monster's leftovers. And yes, they decide to bring one of these spores back to the Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository in Nevada because where else would you store potential giant monster eggs but in a place filled with radioactive waste? It's the monster version of Extreme Home Makeover. Now, let's talk about the Brody family, our unsuspecting heroes. Joe and Sandra Brody work at the Janjira nuclear power plant in Japan. You'd think working at a nuclear power plant is a safe job, but not in this movie. The plant starts experiencing seismic activity, and Joe and Sandra rush to the scene. They assemble a team to check for damage, and that's when things go boom. It's like going to work and realizing you accidentally walked into an action movie. Joe's son, Ford, watches this catastrophe unfold from his classroom, and his reaction is probably, well, there goes my peaceful family life. It's like the opening scene of every disaster movie ever. 15 years later, Ford is now a U.S. Navy explosive disposal officer, living a relatively normal life in San Francisco with his wife, Elle, and their son, Sam. But the drama isn't over yet. He gets a call informing him that his father, Joe, has been arrested for trespassing in Janjira. It turns out Joe picked up a mysterious frequency, the same one he detected just before the nuclear plant's destruction, and he's convinced it's connected to the disaster. As they investigate the Janjira quarantine zone, they discover something shocking: it's not radioactive at all. In fact, there's some strange activity happening near the old nuclear plant. And just when they think they've hit the jackpot, they're arrested by some very serious security agents. But what they find inside the plant is beyond anyone's imagination. There's a massive chrysalis on top of the reactor, containing the creature that escaped in the Philippines. It's like a bizarre science experiment gone wrong, and now they're dealing with a gigantic winged insect-like creature. Of course, it's not as simple as, oh, there's a giant bug, let's get out of here. No, this creature starts wreaking havoc, emitting electromagnetic pulses, and generally making life difficult for everyone involved. It's like a classic case of what could possibly go wrong. And that's when Dr. Serizawa and Dr. Graham show up, revealing that they work for Monarch, a mysterious organization dedicated to studying giant monsters and keeping their existence under wraps. Because, that's what you do when you discover colossal creatures. According to Graham, Monarch was formed in 1954 after the USS Nautilus inadvertently woke up an ancient alpha predator named Godzilla. You'd think after awakening a giant lizard, they'd consider a career change, but no. They decide to keep studying these monsters in secret. And let's not forget that they also tried to kill Godzilla with nuclear strikes. It's like a comedy of errors, but with nuclear bombs. As the story unfolds, we learn about the Mutos, massive unidentified terrestrial organisms, parasites from the same era as Godzilla who also have a taste for radiation. It turns out the one they discovered is just a baby, and there's a bigger, female Muto on the loose. It's like a creature feature with a touch of family drama. Now, there's a plan in motion to use a nuclear warhead to lure all 3 monsters out to sea and blow them up. It's the classic let's save the day with an explosive solution approach. But not everyone is on board with this plan. Dr. Serizawa believes that only Godzilla can stop the Mutos. So, it's not just a battle of monsters, it's a battle of ideas and philosophies. And that's when we meet Ford again. He's assigned to a team transporting the nuclear missiles to San Francisco, where the monsters are headed. Of course, it's not a smooth ride. They cross paths with the female Muto, there's an epic battle, and Ford's buddy Morales doesn't make it. It's like a roller coaster ride of action, explosions, and giant monsters. As the chaos continues, we see the monsters causing destruction, the military trying to stop them, and a race against time to disarm the warhead that's right in the middle of the Muto's nest. It's like a high-stakes game of who can save the world first. But here's the twist: Godzilla comes to the rescue. Just when you think all hope is lost, the king of the monsters roars back into action. There's an epic showdown, buildings come crashing down, and it's like a clash of the titans. In the end, it's Ford who takes on the mission to disarm the warhead. There's tension, suspense, and a sense of impending doom. But he manages to save the day, and the warhead is detonated at a safe distance. It's like a final act in a thrilling action movie. And as the dust settles, we see Godzilla awakening and making his way back to the sea. He's the king of the monsters, and the world watches in awe. It's like the grand finale of a superhero saga, with the hero earning his title and disappearing into the horizon. Our adventure kicks off in 1944 with an epic showdown between American pilot Hank Marlowe and Japanese pilot Gunpei Ikari. It's like a bizarre historical MMA match with a giant ape serving as the referee. Just as things get dicey, Kong makes his grand entrance, saving the day and probably earning himself a spot in the Aviation Hall of Fame. Fast forward to 1973, where the Vietnam War is winding down, and Monarch agents Bill Randa and Houston Brooks are on a quest to convince Senator Al Willis that Skull Island is worth a field trip. It's like a sales pitch, but instead of pitching products, they're pitching the idea of discovering giant creatures on an uncharted island. Talk about a marketing strategy. To make this journey happen, we get the Sky Devils helicopter squadron, led by the stern Lieutenant Colonel Preston Packard. Because what's a monster hunting expedition without a military escort, right? Randa and Brooks recruit a motley crew, including the tracker James Conrad, photographer Mason Weaver, and a bunch of folks who probably should have read the fine print on their contracts. As they approach Skull Island, Kong unleashes his tree-throwing, helicopter-swatting wrath. It's like Apocalypse Now meets Jurassic Park, and chaos reigns supreme. Packard, fueled by his dissatisfaction with the Vietnam War ending, decides Kong is the enemy and sets out on a mission that's about as well thought out as a paper umbrella in a hurricane. Meanwhile, Conrad's group encounters a water buffalo that's more interested in a casual stroll than trampling humans. It's like a moment of zen in the midst of monster mayhem. Of course, Packard's crew has a run-in with a giant spider, proving that even in the face of giant apes, nature's creepy crawlies can still give you the heebie-jeebies. Enter Hank Marlowe, the man who never left Skull Island since his epic fight in '44. He's like the island's very own Tarzan, except with more humor and less vine-swinging. Marlowe introduces Conrad's group to the Iwi village, a utopian society living the dream without possessions or Twitter drama. Packard, on the other hand, is on a mission to turn Kong into a pile of fur and regrets. Randa spills the beans about his personal monster encounter during World War II, making us wonder if Monarch is just a support group for people with traumatic kaiju experiences. The Gray Fox, a makeshift boat made from planes and a B-29, becomes the key to escape. It's like MacGyver decided to build a boat out of spare airplane parts. Kong makes a cameo, picking up a crashed helicopter like it's a kid's toy, showcasing his kaiju-sized strength and indifference to human conflicts. Chapman, one of Packard's crew, meets a grizzly ant at the jaws of a skullcrawler, proving that in a battle of man versus monster, monsters usually have the upper hand. Conrad's group discovers signs of civilization and Marlowe rushes in to break the ice. It's like a sitcom moment, but with more primal screams and fewer laugh tracks. As the Gray Fox sets sail, it encounters Leafwings, the pterodactyls of Skull Island. Nieves meets a gruesome end as the feathery fiends carry him away. It's like a scene from a Hitchcock film, only with more screeching and less suspense. Meanwhile, Packard is hellbent on using seismic charges to turn Kong into a giant firework. The showdown between Kong and the Skullcrawler is a cinematic spectacle. Kong, weakened by napalm, faces off against the monster in a battle that's equal parts David and Goliath and Kong and giant lizard. The humans play their part, using machine guns, flare guns, and sheer bravery to level the playing field. In the end, Packard meets his fiery demise, leaving Kong to face the real threat, the Skull Devil. The final battle is a symphony of destruction, with Kong using boat propellers as makeshift weapons and Weaver narrowly escaping a fate worse than a dental checkup. Kong, weakened but not defeated, rips out the Skull Devil's innards like he's fixing a car engine. It's a gory yet oddly satisfying moment. As survivors are rescued, Kong stands tall, roaring triumphantly. It's like he's auditioning for the next heavyweight champion title. Marlowe reunites with his family. Conrad and Weaver face Monarch's questions, and the slideshow of ancient monsters sets the stage for what's to come. Our journey begins 5 years after the revelation of Titans to the world.
Dr. Emma Russell, a paleobiologist with a knack for Titan communication, and her daughter Madison witness the birth of Mothra, a giant larva with a flair for theatrics. Enter eco-terrorists led by the no-nonsense Colonel Alan Jonah, who make an entrance that's as explosive as Godzilla's atomic breath. Amidst the chaos, Emma uses the Orca, a device that can alter Titan behavior, to calm Mothra. It's like a high-stakes game of pet training, but instead of a mischievous puppy, we're dealing with a colossal insect. The eco-terrorists abduct Emma and Madison, setting the stage for a family reunion that makes Thanksgiving dinners look tame. Monarch, the Titan-watching organization, recruits Dr. Mark Russell, Emma's ex-husband, with a Godzilla-sized grudge. Mark's not exactly Team Godzilla after the death of his son in the events of San Francisco, but when Titans are on the loose, family drama takes a back seat. The Monarch team, including Dr. Ishiro Serizawa and the unfortunate Dr. Vivian Graham, follows Godzilla's trail to Antarctica. In Antarctica, Jonah's grand plan unfolds: awaken Monster Zero, aka King Ghidorah, a three-headed extraterrestrial with a serious attitude problem. Cue an epic battle between Godzilla and Ghidorah, where heads roll, literally. Emma's allegiance takes a dark turn, leaving the Monarch team in shock and awe. Emma's master plan involves awakening Titans worldwide to heal the Earth. It's like a misguided environmentalist's worst nightmare, with Titans wreaking havoc instead of planting trees. Madison, rightfully disappointed in her eco-terrorist mom, decides it's time for some rebellious teenage heroics. Rodden, the volcanic pterosaur, is awakened in Mexico, adding another player to the Titan tussle. But wait, there's more. The US Navy introduces the Oxygen Destroyer, a weapon that sounds more like a sci-fi doomsday device than a solution. It seemingly kills Godzilla but leaves Ghidorah unscathed. Monster Zero rallies his Titan posse, with Rodden gladly submitting to the new overlord. Madison, having had enough of her mom's questionable life choices, disowns Emma in a scene that's both heartbreaking and overdue. It's like a family therapy session, but with kaiju-sized issues. Dr. Eileen Chan, Monarch's mythologist, discovers Ghidorah's extraterrestrial origin and world-transforming agenda. Mothra, having taken a beauty nap under a waterfall, emerges from her cocoon, ready to join the monster mash. The Monarch team hatches a plan to revive Godzilla, involving a submarine, a highly radioactive lair, and a good old-fashioned nuclear warhead. Serizawa, the sacrificial lamb with a heart of gold, manually detonates the warhead, reviving Godzilla in a scene that's both heroic and, let's be honest, a bit bonkers. Emma, realizing the impending Titan apocalypse, tries to reason with Jonah, who's more interested in unleashing the monsters than listening to reason. Madison, the voice of reason in this madness, steals the Orca to set things right. Fenway Park becomes the stage for Madison's impromptu Titan orchestra. It's like a rock concert, but instead of guitars, we have giant monsters grooving to a frequency only Madison can hear. Godzilla, back in action and ready for a rematch, arrives to settle the score with Ghidorah. The battle royale between Godzilla and Ghidorah is a symphony of destruction, with Madison and her stolen Orca caught in the crossfire. Emma sacrifices herself to lead Ghidorah away, proving that even eco-terrorists can have a change of heart. Mark, Madison, and the Monarch team escape the city as Godzilla reaches a thermonuclear boiling point. Mothra, in an act of majestic selflessness, sacrifices herself to empower Godzilla. It's like a Shakespearean tragedy, but with more wings and fewer soliloquies. Ghidorah meets his fiery demise, and Rodden and the other Titans, recognizing a true alpha when they see one, bow to Godzilla. As the world heals with the help of the Titans, news clippings and Monarch files hint at a second Mothra egg, Titans converging on Skull Island, and ancient cave paintings teasing a showdown between Godzilla and Kong. In a post-credits scene, Jonah purchases Ghidorah's severed head, because apparently, collecting kaiju memorabilia is a thing. Our story kicks off with Kong, chilling in a massive dome on Skull Island, communicating with the last Iwi native, Ja. She's got the inside scoop on Kong's feelings because, she's got the whole sign language thing going on. A deaf girl and a giant ape, it's like a heartwarming Disney movie, right? But wait, the plot thickens. We've got a Titan Conspiracy podcast host, Bernie Hayes, digging into some shady business at Apex Cybernetics. Godzilla, not one to miss a good conspiracy, decides to crash the party and wreak havoc at Apex's Pensacola facility.
Bernie, being the investigative genius he is, stumbles upon something huge, a massive device that's sure to be more than just a glorified toaster.
Enter Madison Russell, a listener of Bernie's podcast, and her sidekick Josh Valentine. They embark on a mission to unravel the mysteries behind Godzilla's sudden rage. It's like a kaiju-themed detective story, and we're here for it. Meanwhile, over at Apex, CEO Walter Simmons has a bright idea. Why not recruit Nathan Lind, a former Monarch scientist and Hollow Earth expert, to guide an expedition to the Titan's homeworld? Because, that sounds like a fantastic idea, and what could possibly go wrong?
Nathan, despite having some reservations due to a family tragedy in the Hollow Earth, agrees when Simmons reveals they've got these fancy heaves, Hollow Earth anti-gravity vehicles, that can withstand the gravitational forces down there. It's like an interdimensional road trip, but with giant monsters. Now, here's where it gets epic. Nathan convinces Eileen Andrews, Kong's caretaker, to let the big guy guide them through an outpost in Antarctica to access the Hollow Earth. The US Navy gets involved, and we've got a full-blown convoy on our hands. But of course, Godzilla can't resist crashing the party. He takes on Kong, and it's a clash of the titans. Round 1 goes to Godzilla, and Kong gets airlifted to the Hollow Earth entrance. While Kong explores the Hollow Earth with the team, revealing an ancient war with Godzilla's kind and a nifty axe made from Godzilla's dorsal plates, things heat up back on the surface. Godzilla, attracted by Mechagodzilla's activation in Hong Kong, drills a hole straight to the Hollow Earth throne room with his atomic breath. It's like he's got his own express tunnel. As if that's not enough, we've got Mechagodzilla in the mix, controlled by none other than Rin Serizawa, the son of the late Ishiro Serizawa. And get this, Mechagodzilla is powered by the consciousness of Ghidorah, the three-headed baddie from the previous installment. Talk about a villainous upgrade. The battle royale unfolds in Hong Kong, with Godzilla and Kong duking it out. It's an epic showdown, but Godzilla emerges victorious, leaving Kong on the ropes. Just when it seems like all hope is lost for the big ape, Nathan revives him by destroying the HIV on his chest. But hold on, there's a twist. Mechagodzilla goes rogue, electrocuting Simmons, overpowering Godzilla, and generally causing chaos. Enter Josh, the unsung hero of the story, who short-circuits Mechagodzilla's controls with Bernie's flask of liquor. Yes, you heard that right, booze saves the day. With a charged-up axe and a renewed sense of purpose, Kong delivers the final blow to Mechagodzilla, saving the day. Godzilla and Kong share a moment of acknowledgement, and just like that, they go their separate ways. It's like a monster bromance, we ship it. In the aftermath, Monarch sets up shop in the Hollow Earth, with Kong now ruling the roost. Madison, Bernie, and Josh reunite with their respective people, and Godzilla and Kong become the unofficial rulers of their own domains.